You ever get home and feel like your brain is cooked? You scroll, you snack, you promise yourself you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow looks exactly the same. The truth is, your brain isn't broken, it's running the wrong program, and the ninjas of ancient Japan understood this better than anyone. They weren't just warriors, they were masters of mental control. While samurai fought in the open, ninjas operated in silence, blending into shadows. Their greatest weapon wasn't the sword, it was their mind. In this video, you're going to learn 5 hidden principles that these silent operatives used to command their thoughts, regulate their emotions, and shift their mental state at will. And if you stay until the end, you'll have a tactical blueprint to reprogram your own brain, even on your worst, most drained days. But first, let's talk about your biggest mistake: trying to grow with a brain that's still stuck in survival mode. The workday brain is reactive, obedient, trained to avoid risk and follow orders. It's designed to survive, not to create. And that mode doesn't shut off when you clock out. You bring it home, still running, and try to use it to build your dreams. That's like sneaking into enemy territory while shouting your location. Ninjas called this shift mental camouflage. Before any mission, they didn't just move silently, they thought silently. Rituals like tightening gear, sharpening tools, or sitting briefly in stillness weren't superstition. They were psychological triggers to change internal state. You need your own version of that. No emails, no thinking about tomorrow's problems. Leave your office identity behind. Because once you walk through your door, you're no longer a worker. You're a shadow builder, a ninja of the mind. The mission starts now. Every evening, you do something that feels productive, but kills your momentum. You scroll YouTube for success stories, swipe through Instagram transformations, or binge podcast episodes about mindset. You convince yourself you're learning, but you're not. You're sedating your brain with information, not arming it. And the ninjas would have seen straight through it. Unlike today's endless feed of noise, the shinobi had a discipline of intentional awareness. They didn't collect everything. They collected only what mattered. During missions, they memorized patterns, tracked subtle sounds, noted guard habits, mapped escape routes. Every detail had a future use. Their minds weren't distracted. They were preparing. That's the mindset shift you need. You're not a passive consumer. You're a strategic collector. There's a massive difference between watching someone build and preparing to build yourself. One drains you, the other equips you. So here's what you do. Instead of watching a full tutorial, save it. Instead of reading that long blog post, archive it. When you stumble upon something valuable, don't consume it in the moment. Store it. Categorize it. Build a digital dojo of resources tailored to your future self. Not everything is useful today, but almost everything can be useful eventually, if you're disciplined enough to capture it, tag it, and walk away. This is what the ninja practiced without technology. Intelligence gathering wasn't a hobby, it was a weapon. They gathered what they needed to strike later with precision. You should be doing the same. 10 minutes every night. Find 3 pieces of content related to your mission. Tools, strategies, mental models. Collect, organize, and walk away. Don't read them. Don't watch them. Just add them to your arsenal. You're not feeding your ego. You're feeding your future. Because here's the brutal truth. Every minute you spend watching someone else's progress is a minute not spent building your own. You're not getting inspired. You're getting pacified. The ninja didn't chase energy. They cultivated clarity. They collected shadows, not noise. And they moved when it was time to strike. You keep waiting for the perfect conditions, the quiet evening, the burst of energy, the cleared to-do list. But that moment never comes, and the longer you wait, the louder your brain whispers that you're not ready. That's how goals die, quietly, through delay. Not from failure, but from indefinite preparation. The ninja didn't wait for ideal moments. They trained in the rain, in silence, in total darkness. Readiness wasn't an emotion, it was a pattern. Their philosophy was brutal and effective. One clean strike is better than 1,000 wasted movements. Precision over noise, focus over force. And here's where most people get it wrong. You think you need to feel motivated. You think you need to block out 2 hours and light a candle. You don't. You need one strike a day. One focused, intentional move toward your vision. Write one paragraph. Design one thumbnail. Make one sales call. Practice one chord. The action doesn't need to be dramatic. It needs to be real. Think of your goal like a blade. If you don't touch it every day, it dulls. If you skip a week, rust sets in. But if you maintain it, even just for 5 minutes, you stay sharp. That's the ninja mindset. Daily maintenance, quiet consistency, silent forward movement. When you do this, you eliminate the biggest lie your brain tells you. I'll do it tomorrow. That's how fantasy wins and discipline dies. So here's your new rule. One action, every day, no matter how small. Not because you feel like it, but because that's what a warrior does. That's what a shadow builder does. That's how real change is forged. You'll be shocked what happens. That tiny strike becomes a trigger. It breaks the inertia. It builds trust with yourself. And more often than not, once you start, you'll go further than planned. But even if you don't, you still won. You kept the flame alive. So forget the perfect moment. Forget the grand gesture. From this day forward, your job is simple. One strike a day. Whether it's one sentence, one sketch, one email, or one sale, make it count. Precise, relentless, quiet. The ninja doesn't wait for motivation. He moves in silence and strikes. Some nights, you're just wrecked, brain fried, body drained, nothing left. And that's exactly where most people break. They hit zero. They do nothing. They tell themselves it's just one day off, but then another follows, and another, until the flame dies completely. That's not laziness. It's a broken system, one that expects perfection or nothing. The ninja understood this danger. Their solution wasn't dramatic. It was disciplined. Even on their worst days, injured, sick, hunted, they followed one unbreakable rule: never go to zero. If they couldn't train, they'd meditate. If they couldn't fight, they'd visualize. If they couldn't move, they'd observe. These weren't placeholders. They were survival tactics, a commitment to momentum, even in darkness. You must adopt the same mindset. On bad days, your job isn't to grow. It's to not retreat. You don't need to progress. You need to preserve. To signal to your brain, this still matters. That's what real discipline looks like. Not effort when you're energized, but consistency when you're crushed. This is the principle of the minimum effective dose. One sentence, one chord, one sketch, one page. It might feel weak, but it's powerful, because it prevents detachment, keeps the neural link intact, reminds your identity who you are. You're not someone who quits, you're someone who shows up. What destroys progress isn't failure, it's silence. It's the pause that stretches into a week, a month, then becomes your new normal. Restarting feels foreign. Shame sets in. That's the trap you must eliminate, not with intensity, but with presence. So if you normally write for an hour, write for 2 minutes. If you normally train for 45, do 5. You're not chasing excellence today. You're protecting the signal. This project lives. You're still breathing. You're still building. The ninja called this proof of life. It was subtle, a whispered ritual, a silent move. But it meant survival. And survival meant continuity. They knew one truth. A weak move is infinitely stronger than no move. So, make your rule. On your worst day, do one thing. One act of defiance against quitting. Never hit zero. That's not a productivity hack. It's a way of life. A ninja doesn't need to win the day. He just needs to stay alive for the next one. You've switched modes. You've collected intelligence. You've struck daily. You've kept the flame alive. But something still feels off. You're doing all the right things, yet progress feels fuzzy. The ideas don't click. The next move doesn't feel obvious. That's not because you're lost. It's because your brain is overloaded. The missing ingredient? Silence. The ninja had a concept called Ma, the sacred void between actions, the pause between movements, the stillness between thoughts. Outsiders saw it as doing nothing, but to the shinobi, it was everything. It was the space to sense intention, absorb information, and anticipate the next move. In combat, it was the breath before the strike. In strategy, it was the moment the plan clicked. You're not exhausted because you do too much. You're exhausted because you never stop feeding your brain. Music while walking, videos while eating, podcasts while brushing your teeth, endless consumption, zero digestion. Your mind becomes bloated, heavy, directionless. But the ninja didn't operate like this. They trained hard, but also sat in forests, stared at walls, walked without speaking. They embraced stillness, not as laziness, but as a sharpening ritual. They knew wisdom emerged when input stopped. Here's your task. After your daily strike, pause. Not meditation, not breathwork, just 5 minutes of space. Sit without a goal. Let your thoughts roam. No screen, no soundtrack, no checklist. Just you, your mind, and the void. That space is where the magic brews. It's where ideas finally breathe, where connections form, where patterns become visible. You don't chase clarity, you let it arrive. Ma is not wasted time. It's the furnace of focus, the place where noise dies and insight is born. It's where all your collected knowledge quietly arranges itself into a strategy. It's the pause that turns movement into mastery. The ninja didn't move constantly. They waited. They listened. And when the silence spoke, they struck. Make space for your next move. Protect your void. Because sometimes, the strongest part of the blade is the moment before it cuts. And if this video gave you tools to think like a ninja and act like one, then sharpen your arsenal even further by subscribing. I'll be here, quietly dropping the strategies no one else is teaching. Hit like to support the mission, and I'll see you in the shadows.